In this video, I'm going to show you how to play one of my favorite right hand techniques, the unique right hand technique of the Alzapua for flamenco guitar. So if you'd like to learn the technique to play something like this, then please join me. Okay, so just like always, let's start with the proper form and the mechanics of this technique. Unlike the majority of other flamenco guitar techniques that hold the same hand position, whenever we perform the Alzapua, we're going to want to bring the thumb in at a little bit of a different angle. So normally we have this hand position, which usually utilizes the side of the thumb to strike the string. Or we're anchoring on the 6th string with this type of position. So when we're performing Alzapua, we just want to adjust the thumb angle and bring it into about 45 degrees. That's a nice general rule of thumb. Some people like to take it a little more extreme and take it almost to a 90-degree angle. For me, that's a little too extreme, but that's a little bit more of a preference, the player's preference. By changing the angle, you'll notice that it's a much better position to attack the string, and the sound will be much better and more intense. So if you tried to do it from this position, you can't really attack the string too well. But if you do it from the 45-degree angle, you could get a much nicer, stronger sound. Now the actual mechanics of using the Alzapua are just a combination of using the wrist and the thumb joint. And then the wrist. Now when you combine that together, lastly, let's talk about stabilization. Now normally with the other hand position that we use for the other techniques, the thumb usually anchors the hand or gives it some stabilization on the 6th string. Now since we're using the thumb now for this technique, it's kind of the opposite. We have to anchor with the opposite end on the 1st string. And what we're going to do is use the middle finger. Some people like using the middle finger and the ring finger, but I just mostly use the middle finger to gently rest upon the 1st string. So you're just resting upwards upon the 1st string. Now when you perform the movement, your wrist will naturally take that finger off that 1st string, but you want to use it as a home base. So anytime you push off, you come back to it. All right, I think we're ready to dive right into that first exercise. And as always, for the first exercise, we're just going to use the right hand. We don't want to worry about the left hand. That will give us a way to really focus in on that right hand and not have to worry about anything else. All right, so for the first exercise, we're just going to perform the Alzapua on each string individually. And we're just going to go from the 6th string up to the 2nd string. Now normally, the majority of the times we perform Alzapua, you're usually plucking at least a few strings, but there are certain cases where you do 1 string. But generally speaking, the best way to start learning the Alzapua is by trying 1 string at a time. This will just give you a little more control and finesse to start learning the movement. So we're going to start on the 6th string, and then you're going to go down, up with the thumb on the following string. We're going to start on the 6th, go all the way down to the 2nd, and then come back up. I'd like you to do twice on every string. So here's the exercise. Now one thing we didn't talk about is when the thumb comes back up, just make sure you give it a little bit of flexibility. If it's too stiff, you're going to give it a little bit of a harsh sound, so you don't want to get this. You might be a little tense, it might be a little too harsh, so you want to give it a little bit of leeway, enough to perform the motion with ease. Don't forget to take the exercise really slowly just so you could get the motion. This first exercise is just all about capturing the motion and getting your hand to cooperate. If you're getting some value out of this video and I was able to show you a few new things, don't forget to like the video. Also, leave me a comment. Let me know how your progress is coming along. Let me know if you think I forgot to mention something or you'd like me to cover something else in another video. Okay, so the second exercise is going to be all about coordination. We just want to make sure the left hand and the right hand are coordinating. So we're just going to do each string again, but this time we're going to play from 0 to 4. Then fret 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we're just just going to go down the same strings that we went down in exercise 1. Like before, I want you to take that exercise really slowly. I'm always playing some of these a little bit faster just so you can see the whole thing and the video doesn't get too long for you. But stop the video and play it at your own pace, please. All right, so let's move on to the third exercise. This exercise will cover hitting a few different strings. So let's take an E chord. So just like we did before, we're going to start off by hitting one string. Now instead of just hitting one string, we're going to hit a bunch of strings. So if we're starting with the 6th string, we're going to go all the way down to approximately the 2nd string. Again. Now you want to get a quick execution of the strings because you don't want to drag this. You don't want to get that type of sound. You want to get a quick execution. Now we're just going to keep going down the strings, and as you go lower, now you can include the high E string. So you're going to go. Now we're going to go 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string, 4th, 5th, 6th. So exercise 3 with a beat would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so before we move on to exercise 4, let's do one more modification to exercise 3, and let's call this 3B. So we're going to hit the 1st string, then we're going to hit the bunch of strings, and come back up. Now normally we would have moved on to the next string, but before we move to the next string, the addition is hitting the last bass string one more time. So it's going to be like this. Now next string, repeat, next string, now exercise 3B with a beat would be 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we're going to move on to exercise number 4. So one thing to keep in mind is if you still don't feel too comfortable with exercise 1 or 2, I don't want you to focus really hard on 4. Go ahead and watch it or go ahead and try it out. But I want you to really focus on practicing exercises 1 and 2, and even 3 before you make it to number 4. All right, so we're going to move on to exercise number 4. So with number 4, all we're going to do is double the amount of Alzapua we're doing per beat. So here's what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. I hope I was able to get you started on the Alzapua technique. As always, keep practicing. Don't forget to enjoy the journey, and I will see you in the next video.